Imagine that you're living in a world where everything moves at its own pace. Rewind for a second and just build up a picture in your head. People are not getting out of breath, desperately trying to catch a bus. Nor are they getting mad for the reason that they didn't manage to perform their tasks on time. They're also not really bothered about not feeling like doing something, even if time is pressing. And now, think of the word that featured the most in the last sentence. Time, time, and time once again. Now that we go back to the real world, people here are, vice versa, unreasonably obsessed with time. Despite that, we're always running out of time. And remarkably, this phrase even somehow became one of our favorite excuses, because in present conditions, it looks like each and everyone is continuously and successfully keeping track of the time chasing. Look, the constant pursuit of time has made the lack of it an integral part of our lives. Well, doesn't this look like a vicious cycle? It is very common to say that we're missing some more hours in a day. But if you think about this issue, you'll notice that we create something like a chain reaction with our own hands. We start to plan our time. We're extremely focused on planning while the time is still passing. Then we return to our tasks and see that we haven't accomplished basically anything yet. We get frustrated, wasting our energy and, surprisingly, our time. And after all these steps, boom, and there is no time left. I would call this an out-of-time phenomenon, but you can simply describe it as procrastination, in other words. Being scared of the procrastination act itself, we unconsciously focus on this intrusive thought, and, all the same, end up procrastinating. When I was just 11 years old, I started to show alarming signs of being engaged in the so-called productivity cult. Namely, I would try to complete a multitude of tasks in a short period. Then, I didn't realize that making things fast doesn't equal making things well. As Professor neuroscientist Earl Miller states, multitasking can hurt your productivity by 40%. The study aims to demonstrate that multitasking doesn't have anything in common with being hardworking and productive. Instead, while constantly switching from one task to another, our brain finds it hard to refocus. In fact, not only does this waste time, it decreases our ability to be creative. Obviously, as a fifth grader, I wasn't very much concerned about the time management techniques either. Additionally, popular influencers on the media, who had been fiercely promoting the idea of being super efficient, wouldn't teach their audience on how to properly operate time. The concept of being on time for everything has been willingly pushed through the internet, and the main task we needed to keep up with was just to be productive, no matter the circumstances or abilities. During the COVID global pandemic, when the productivity cult had been gaining momentum among kids and teenagers like me, I finally realized the significance of time management within the working process and why keeping things going at their own pace is best for both our goals and our mental state. The first time I heard the famous quote by Michael Jordan, who was at that time one of my role models for the reason that I was actively engaged in basketball. Some people want it to happen, some wish it to happen, others make it happen. I interpreted it as staying diligent against all odds, including my mental condition. However, I soon realized that the aim of the expression cannot be fulfilled without keeping a balance between working hard and giving yourself the opportunity to renew your energy. And time management can be of great help here. Effective time management can open a broad range of opportunities to you. Let's go back to the time chase phenomenon. I went through the wasting time at work statistics and found out that about 89% of employees say that they waste at least 30 minutes during every workday. I'm convinced that the lack of time management knowledge has led to such a disturbing data. Let's take my experience as an example. Not knowing the true purpose of time management, I blindly followed the well-known unhealthy productivity standards. I would study all night long, or vice versa, wake up at 5 a.m. every day, neglecting my sleep patterns. I would desperately try to succeed in any niche that I possibly could. School, sports, keeping up with friends, and even trying to make money. Surprisingly or not, I never succeeded. The reason is that I was always taking too much work and setting unrealistic expectations on myself. Counting on my permanent strong motivation, I considered my time so precious that I didn't even have a desire to look at trying on time management at all. However, I now realize that taking it into consideration could have saved me a ton of time. There are two factors that create the development of procrastination: multitasking and focusing on the wrong priorities. But how do we get rid of this pests? Well, it is necessary to say that they're both closely linked to each other. Multitasking cannot exist without the wrong priorities being set, and vice versa. So, firstly, how do you define wrong priorities? The strategy is simple. Spot unnecessary things in your work that soon turn out to become your distractors. Now, to make it more clear, I would give you a more detailed instruction on how to identify wrong priorities. Let's do an exercise together. I want you to think of your ideal workplace. It can be anything from a hammock on a beautiful sunny beach to a computer desk at a co-working office. Now that you have done this, think of 1 to 3 distracting things which are required to tolerate in order to maintain this perfect workplace. So, for example, if your dream workplace is a design studio, there you will probably get distracted by comparing your work to the work of your studio colleagues and by constantly looking for flaws in your product. In real life, these are actually your wrong priorities which you consider to be important. In reality, you're very likely to lean on the success of others when trying to motivate yourself to be productive, and you're probably unreasonably insecure about your own achievements. In an attempt to be like someone else and by constantly criticizing your own pieces of work, you may soon discover that you're no longer willing to keep up with your job. As long as these things get you annoyed, they consequently make you demotivated and are therefore completely unhelpful for your work success. As far as you can guess, our time management abilities depend on our psychological condition. If we don't set unrealistic expectations on ourselves, we do not give in to panicking. If we don't give in to panicking, we succeed. The strategy is simple. It also looks like a chain reaction, but definitely like a positive one. Good psychological condition is the key to proper time management and productivity. By the time I came to this conclusion in my time management journey, I realized I've already become much more calm and relaxed at my daily tasks. I gradually stopped overreacting, fidgeting, and showing signs of nervousness when trying to concentrate on my job. This consequently made me take into consideration that I inadvertently took up the idea of slow living, which has been my dream, difficult to achieve for years. Defining wrong priorities and setting the right ones helped me to understand how time management works, and this, in its turn, facilitated my slow living lifestyle. Going back to the wonderful other world I described at the very beginning, I can now indeed claim that the lifestyle showed in it is my present reality. I'm not getting out of breath in an attempt to catch a bus. I'm rarely nervous about being late with my work, and I'm not afraid of giving myself an opportunity to have a rest if I need one. Have you noticed something? The word time doesn't even appear in the last sentence. This certainly has to say a lot about the effectiveness of time management, doesn't it? As you already know how to define wrong priorities and how to set the right ones, do not be afraid to try these tools as soon as you get to work once again. I promise, this time the working process will be completely different and incredibly memorable.